welcome back to BLOCKTV, where it's time for cryptonomics on a week that the sphere had speared by the Libra hearings fully entered mainstream, and the jury is still out. For 2 straight days on Capitol Hill, Facebook, or Libra's head, David Marcus, faced intense questioning from U.S. lawmakers over the future launch of its cryptocurrency project. The combative hearings highlighted deep skepticism over the tech firms possibly entering the banking world following a slew of privacy scandals, and then some. Now, to bring us all the highlights and open questions, and there are quite a few, I'm joined in studio by none other than Usher Westrop Evans, senior correspondent, BLOCKTV. We had the pleasure of watching this thing live yesterday, and both of them, yes. Highlights.
Very, very interesting, Yael. I mean, so much to break down, so much going on, because each individual senator, representative, they all wanted to make a case, they all wanted to make a point, and they had such a myriad issues to deal with there that it was Marcus being a hit from all sides,
right.
And certainly the man didn't necessarily respond all that much, but we'll get to that in a moment. Before we do, so taking away, I guess what I would say is the key takeaway from all this, the biggest issue that Congress as a whole seems to have, the question of the identity and nature of Libra. And we've got a statement from Senator McHenry here that really sums that up. Let's take a listen.
What is a Libra?
Congressman, Libra is a digital currency, a reserve-backed digital currency.
Is that a security?
We don't believe it is, Congressman.
Is it a commodity?
Congressman, based on current U.S. law, I believe it might be a commodity, but we see it as a payment tool.
Is it an exchange-traded fund?
It is not, Congressman.
Okay, so when you say that, so it's none of the above in any pure form, like other digital currencies, correct?
Congressman, it is designed to be a payment tool.
A payment tool. Okay. So if it's none of the above in our current regulatory structure, what I'm really getting at is how do you comply with regulations?
So what is Libra is essentially the question that I have to say was not really answered.
Well, that's exactly...
Or it's answered in a variety of ways.
Well, that's exactly the point, that Marcus was asked this question repeatedly. Is it an ETF? Is it a security? Is it a commodity? From a range of different perspectives and viewpoints. And I guess we've got a little montage summarizing exactly how he answered that. Let's take a listen.
Good question, Congressman.
Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Yes or no?
Absolutely, Congresswoman.
Okay.
Couldn't agree more with you, Congressman. I know, but we must be thoughtful about those issues, Congressman, so I'm trying to respond appropriately. I don't know yet, Congressman.
Okay.
Congressman, I don't have the answer. Congressman, again, it's really not for me to say who should regulate us, but Congresswoman, Congressman, sorry, I'm glad you asked the question.
I'll take that as a no. I should take that as a no.
It is not for me to decide, Congressman.
Okay.
Genius. No, the thing is, Congressman, Congresswoman, yeah.
It had a feeling of running down the clock a little bit. I mean, each representative only had 5 minutes in which to make their case to Marcus, and many of the Congress people there argued that he was trying to obfuscate, trying to delay to the point of not really getting meaningful answers out. Entirely.
And look, in his defense, one of the things that I was worried about as we were watching it, for him, one could say, is that at the end of the day, Congress is currently predominantly Democrat. Nobody likes Facebook in the United States right now, but these are people, he stood in front of people who really have a beef and have an axe to grind with Facebook. But answers were very hard to come by, and he was standing there representing, at the end of the day, who?
Well, exactly right. That becomes the big question. I mean, within his own statements, he repeatedly described either representing Libra as an entire association as a whole, sometimes Calibra, the wallet that he is supposedly ahead of. But ultimately, at the end of the day, let's not forget, he is an employee still of Facebook, and he is part of the Facebook conglomerate. He was hired on by Mark Zuckerberg. As much as he might try and defend it and obfuscate it's an association, and there are others. They're the ones being on trial there. They're the ones there being the face of, and they're the ones who still maintain, as he stated in his opening statements, they still maintain control of the entire Libra Association and network. And this is something that was a point that was brought up by Maxine Waters early on in the piece. And let's take a listen to what she had to say.
You've said that we don't need to trust Facebook because it will only be one of 100 members in the Libra Association that will manage this product and this project. But that's not entirely true, is it? The project was Facebook's idea. Facebook is spearheading it and recruiting partners. Facebook's subsidiary, Libra, will provide consumers with a digital wallet to store Libra tokens. As I understand it, no member of the association has paid anything towards the project. So my question is, why should we trust Facebook to do these activities?
That association, those companies that signed on, that came up a lot in that respect. What was gleaned from that?
Most primarily, and he goes on to state, Marcus, that is, in his statement, he admits that yes, no other companies have yet paid into the association, that it is at the moment still just Facebook. And yet, by the first half of 2020, the Libra Association white paper claims that they will have everything out and ready to go. I mean, that is a very rapid time frame. And while the line was repeatedly, we're working alongside regulators, we're working together, this doesn't seem to be the case. Facebook is still very much in control of this entire situation. And the big names they like to throw out, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Uber.
Right.
These names are just, at this point, names on paper. They're yet to be anything meaningful, and certainly they're not represented here when you've just got David Marcus.
And important to note, I was just thinking, these hearings took place exactly a month, I believe, from the moment that Libra was announced. So it is moving very fast, but Marcus himself did not have, to me it felt like he didn't even know that they themselves don't know all the answers. But the lawmakers didn't care. They actually want those immediately, and they don't just want that, right?
Exactly. And that's the key point there, that they want someone who will be able to provide them with the answers. Marcus does not seem to be able to do that either intentionally or otherwise. So who should be the person to be called? But of course, Mark Zuckerberg. And we heard a very interesting response from Representative Sherman regarding his views on that. Let's take a listen.
Now, we're told by some that innovation is always good. The most innovative thing that happened this century is when Osama bin Laden came up with the innovative idea of flying 2 airplanes into towers. That's the most consequential innovation, although this may do more to endanger America than even that. People call this the Libra. It's not the Libra. If it finally happens, nobody's going to call it Libra. They're going to call it a Zuckbuck. This is Zuckerberg's baby.
Zuckerberg's thing in Congress, in Senate, on Capitol Hill. Zuckerberg, they're going to want answers. And in any case, this is a man who controlled their lives. Did they get those answers?
Well, no, exactly. And they have not gotten Zuck on stand. They have not gotten Mark Zuckerberg out. Yeah. So they seem to say that this is not done, this is not over. In fact, that point was reiterated by Maxine Waters in statements spoken to Yahoo Finance after the hearing. I think we've got that. We can listen to that as well.
And I think that this is a huge idea that's born out of Facebook. It's a global idea that's born out of Facebook. And I think that the Libra is a challenge to our dollar. And so we got a lot of questions to ask. And we would like to ask him of Mr. Zuckerberg.
So Waters clearly, and we didn't think she would be satisfied, but there seems to be a push there to ask to see Zuckerberg sitting in those rooms. I doubt he will do that.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah, seems unlikely, just for the sake of, talk about bad PR. That said, putting everything aside, Libra, Calibra, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin did react throughout those hearings.
Yeah, throughout the hearing, and again,
we don't know
whether correlative or causative, whatever, but Bitcoin certainly did throughout the course of the hearing. During the period, it rose over 5%. In that period. It's since pared back, but it certainly ended that massive decline that we'd seen after that came in the wake of the Senate hearing from the day before. Again, what's driving those remains to be seen, but there's certainly no doubt that there was some such positive statements that came out regarding Bitcoin, specifically from representatives. We saw that from McHenry, we saw that from a number of other major representatives who came out and made these sort of quite broad statements praising Bitcoin while simultaneously criticizing Libra and the centralized nature of Libra.
Showing knowledge in the sphere, which is very, very interesting.
Certainly, showing that they are aware this is something that they're taking seriously. The blockchain particularly got a huge, was lauded largely as a great technology for security, safety, stability, and then of course Bitcoin as a denizen of that, I guess, of the purest form of that was seen
and
as well.
And McHenry saying Bitcoin is unstoppable is really choice. Asher Westropp Evans, thank you so much for joining us today in Cryptonomics. This was Block TV. We'll be right back.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.